So this isn't going to be like this video isn't scripted or anything. I'm kind of just ranting. I don't have the time or the energy to make a full script because I got other things I want to do, but I do want to share my thoughts because it is like an important thing. So for the three of you that on the planet that don't know, Stranger Things 5 is happened. Stranger Things is over now. I think it's important to talk about just what they did with this show for the last season. I don't know how to fully put into words what I feel about it, but we're going to do our best. So I think the best place to start is that Stranger Things really inhabits a really strange place in modern media. It's actually one of the few pieces of true monoculture left, right? Probably during the 2010s, people could say that we did have monoculture, at least as far as like the Star Wars sequels or the MCU. But like into 2020, there really isn't like a big thing that people are interested in, right? There isn't like a big thing of the early 2020s that we're all going to look back and say, yeah, I remember everybody was like watching that, except for Stranger Things. It's one of the only TV shows of the past 10 years that has like seemingly been relevant for everyone, and not really everyone, but it has touched every corner of the internet, every corner of society. I mean, it is a big deal. So going into season 5, we're like, the Duffers are tasked with ending a show that more or less has grown up with a lot of its fan base. And it's very easy to think about what they did with season 5 as like, we have rose-tinted goggles for seasons 1 through 3 specifically, right? That, oh, well, we were kids when the first season came out. Of course we thought it was amazing. But like, I don't know. I don't think season 5 was like as good as it could have been. Now, part of it is definitely that they wrote themselves into a corner at the end of season 4 when like the earth split in half. Like, I think everybody collectively was like, holy crap, you guys have shot yourselves in the foot. Right? Because that killed any chance of just like essentially a regular season 5 of Stranger Things, right? That the season could be anything other than just the final battle. I think a good comparison is a lot of season 5 feels like it's trying to be Avengers Endgame. But the difference is that Avengers Endgame is one movie, right? Essentially, it is the last episode of the MCU. You know, a lot of those big, crazy moments, and it doesn't just feel like those movies are laced with them, but in a lot of ways, it almost felt like every conversation of Stranger Things 5 was like the big one, right? This is the big, important reveal. Will Byers is gay or whatever. Like, it definitely like puts a damper on what the series is good at. Because like that's what I think is missing, is like just that sense that Stranger Things had of, at the end of the day, the first couple seasons are definitely a hangout show, right? Like, it is a show where, sure, we're running around solving a mystery, but the thing we enjoy about it is that these characters are fun and entertaining, and they have these silly interactions and do wacky hijinks on the side. And it felt like the wacky hijinks on the side were just really lacking. Like, there just doesn't feel like there's like a, you know, that flavor. That 80s flavor just felt very gone. It felt like we are left with just 80s references. But the first season didn't captivate people with its atmosphere because of the 80s references. It was because of the vibe that it captured, right? This vibe of like, you know, nostalgia for like hanging out with your friends, running around, having a good time. And like the first couple episodes, there is zero good time to be found. Like, none. Team chemistry across the board isn't great. Like, so many of the... I don't want to say character assassination because I think that's kind of ridiculous to say that, but there are several characters that it just feels like they're just not the same as they were even last season. And for some of them, I get it because there's been a lot, but like, I think a good example is like Joyce Byers doesn't really do much, which feels really weird because Joyce Byers is one of the people who like was pushing the plot forward, especially in the earlier seasons. But like at this point, she's just there to like give people pep talks, and like there's like 12 of them. Like every character gets a Joyce Byers pep talk. Like it kind of feels like a waste of the fact that Winona Ryder is in fact a good actress, but we're not doing anything with it. I think the same can be said of a lot of like the core boys, right? Like Dustin, it like honestly doesn't do a ton except just say some smart stuff. Like even the final plan isn't even Dustin's. The final plan to defeat Vecna is freaking Steve's, right? Lucas spends the entire season just thinking about how I want Max back, and then when Max comes back, nothing. That's it. That was his whole story for this season. Right? Which is, again, weird because it feels like Lucas has always had and been like an emotional core of Stranger Things. The first season's big dramatic climax is like Mike and Lucas being like angry at each other. And like that's like why I care about these characters. Right? Mike hasn't done much for like several seasons, but especially at this point, it also kind of feels like he's just Mr. Pep Talk. And I think a lot of this can just be chalked up to the fact that Stranger Things has like reached the point of entropy, that like there are so many characters and so much like there's way too much lore that they're introducing in season 5. If you're going to try to have it be this big, crazy battle, and then there's just all this stuff they launch on us at the very end. They try to introduce this like little weird rock that made Vecna, but like we don't, like that's just it. We see the rock. It's like, oh, it's gonna destroy you. But like that whole sequence feels like the type of thing you introduce in season 4, so that then season 5 can maybe explore why Henry has succumbed. Like what about Henry's character made him to succumb to this? But it just feels like, no, we can't have that. We're just going to go fight the one-dimensional bad guy. Going back to that idea of like, there's just too many people, too many stories, which is kind of sad because that's always been one of Stranger Things' claim to fame, right? Even as early as the first season, there's like upward of like a dozen central characters in the first season, but all of them feel like they're given plenty of screen time, plenty of time to develop. And even as the seasons go on, like you never really get the sense that like people are doing nothing. Rarely, Will Byers, but it just feels like half of the characters, half of the cast don't do anything, right? They're just kind of sitting there and talking to each other, telling you what is about to happen. Stranger Things 5, maybe this has happened the whole time and I'm just old enough now that I pick up on it, but Stranger Things 5, I feel like telegraphed every single twist like a minute before it happened. Like the example I have off the cuff is that scene in like episode 6, at the end of episode 6, I think, where Max and Holly escape the mind place, Camazotz. There has to be like a thing that you have to ground yourself to the real world. And the moment she said you need to find a thing to ground yourself, I was like, oh, it's going to be the little minifigure thingy. And then it was, which I guess is cool. I don't want to say that it was bad. I think saying it was bad would be wrong because I did enjoy myself. I liked the last 40 minutes of Stranger Things. I thought it was sweet. And I thought it was cute, and I thought it was a nice send-off for these characters. Like, they should have let 11 die. And I don't mean that to say that the story at the end is necessarily true. But, like, I don't know. I like that they bring up that parallel between Hopper and his daughter and like Mike with 11. I think that's like a neat thing to introduce, a way that these characters are connected, but at the same time, then they kind of backtrack and it's like, oh, actually she might be alive. And that, I know the whole point of that is just to leave open the potential for a spin-off or whatever, but I don't want that. I kind of want the story to be over. But like otherwise, like I do like that little send-off. They play D&D one last time. That's kind of cute. Especially there's that reused shot of like the sprinkler. Like they just kind of framed it like that first scene of the kids in the original episode. I definitely think that especially the finale definitely had a ton of reverence for the original season. Because that original season does mean a lot to people. I have watched it 3 or 4 times in my life because it's great. It's wonderful. But I do think, and that finale kind of showed me that the Duffer Brothers understand what we like about this show, right? And it has never been about the monsters or the mystery or any of the spooky shit, the government psyop. No one cares about that. I mean, people do, but that's never been the appeal. It's always been the characters. The characters are fun and silly, and they have adventures, and they're likable. Like, the D&D stuff is like a perfect example. But like what is appealing about the D&D scenes in the show is the characters, how they interact, the fact that they like each other and like having fun with each other. Like everyone enjoys that. That's the entire reason sitcoms exist. And I know the Duffer Brothers know that because the last 40 minutes of Stranger Things were pretty wonderful. And there's a lot of that where it's just like these characters enjoying each other's company. Like the Dustin valedictorian speech was great. Like that's the type of shit that they used to do back in the day when I was a kid. That's what the Stranger Things kids did. And I like that. That is fun to me. At the same time, there is no real feeling of that, right? There's no real feeling that like during this episode, there's just going to be a side tangent where we do something that doesn't really matter to the plot, but just makes you like love these characters. There's just so little of it. It feels so all consumed by the actual plot beats, the A to B, when the love that we all have for Stranger Things is in the points between A to B, right? And like, even in the serious episodes in the earlier seasons, there's these moments where the characters just exist together, right? I think a great example is the Lando Calrissian scene in, I think, also season 1. I'm going to keep talking about season 1, but like, that's a scene during a tense moment, right? An intense piece of the story, but, you know, Dustin and Lucas are arguing about Star Wars. And that's the type of stuff that we love about this show, is that these moments of just humanity, of real childhood joy and wonder, despite all of the crazy, spooky stuff happening. Like, that's what we like about this show. And I didn't feel that this season. But at the same time, a thing that plenty of people have pointed out, and I agree with, is how hilariously short the final battle was. I'm not sure if I was that excited about like a big final battle for Stranger Things. I kind of liked how season 1 in particular ended because the climax of season 1 is finding Will. It's not really the battle between Brenner and 11. And the monster, right? Like, and the idea of like a big, crazy, stupid battle, like it's very MCU. It's very, this is our Avengers. And to some extent, Stranger Things is Netflix's Avengers. There's nothing on Netflix that draws people in like Stranger Things. And there's a reason why that happened. But I do think that this season didn't quite live up to what the rest of the show had. I think it's kind of funny how much hate episode 7 got. And I know a lot of it had to do with the Will scene, which, I mean, I understand why it's there, but I do think that's the type of scene that maybe could have gone in the epilogue. Maybe, but regardless, it really was bizarre to me that episode in particular stood out, because I feel like the issues of episode 7 kind of stretch out to the entirety of this season. The characters are kind of wooden and stiff, and they don't have a lot of charisma with each other anymore. Like, the best character is Derek, right? Like, can we just, like, sit there and just admit, like, Derek is the character that is keeping alive that old Stranger Things feeling of, like, kind of a raunchy, edgy show. Like, that he just, like, says dumb things. He's not locked in at all. But that's what's fun about Stranger. That's, like, part of the fun, is it's kids that are underqualified, that are totally going to get their asses whooped, and they're the ones who have to save the world. But, like, at the end of the day, I don't want to say it was bad, because I did enjoy it. Like, there's still these moments of like, really good storytelling in there. I mean, I still like these characters. That's why I am very much, I don't want to say character assassination happened, because it didn't. They're still the same pretty likable characters as always, but there's definitely a difference in feeling this season, a difference in tone, and in my opinion, a difference that isn't good, a not good difference in tone. But, like, at the end of the day, it's like probably like a 5 or 6 out of 10. I just think I think the reason that I and so many people are disappointed isn't the actual, like, the show isn't bad per se, but I mean, when you can line it up to, especially, like, seasons 1 through 3, maybe even 4, which are some of the best seasons of television ever, especially season 1, it's just, like, kind of hard to even compete. But, you know, it is what it is. I hope you guys like this, even though it is, like, pretty all over the place, a lot of stuttering, but I don't really care. I wanted to get some thoughts out in the world. I'll probably one day do a real retrospective of Stranger Things, but now is not the time, because I want distance from the show for a minute. Otherwise, I've got some stuff coming down the pipeline that'll be fun relatively soon. Hopefully the next week or so, I'll have my top 10 of 25 out. And there's a couple other videos that I'm working on for the future. So you just look out for that. I'll see you guys next time.